Hey, thanks for joining us again today for our study in the book of Proverbs. Today we're going to look at Proverbs chapter 4. And when I read Proverbs chapter 4, I feel like I'm reading an ancient version of the familiar question we sometimes ask today. Questions like, is that the mouth you would kiss your mother with? Or would you do that if your mother was watching? I want to read from a popular preacher, Warren Wiersbe, in his commentary because I think he gives a good summary of this chapter. Let me just read it for you. He writes, "The father tells his sons to treat wisdom the way they would treat their mother, sister, or wife. Love her, honor her, embrace her, exalt her. The bumper sticker that asks, 'Have you hugged your children today?' ought to be balanced with, 'Have you hugged wisdom today?'" In Proverbs, wisdom is personified as a beautiful woman who invites us to her lavish banquet, while folly is the adulteress who tempts us to poverty and death. "The one you love," he writes, "is the one who will control your life." Over in verse 13, Solomon writes, and in some translations it says, "Take fast hold of her instruction, let her not go." Speaking of wisdom. In other words, hold on to wisdom the way a child holds its parent's hand and trusts their parent to guide and protect them. It's what Solomon is saying, the kind of relationship that we should have with wisdom. Have you ever had your mother say to you, "You ought to be ashamed of what you've done"? There's something about a mother's words that just speaks right to the heart. The instruction Solomon gives in verse 23 is this, in one of the greatest verses in the Bible: "Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life." So what the eyes see, what the ears hear, where the feet go, it all comes back to our hearts and what our hearts want. Do this exercise sometime. When you go on a trip with your family, pay attention to what catches your children's eyes. I can guarantee you that they'll find the toy stores, the ice cream shops, the video game or arcade place. What about what catches your eyes? Gun shops, a fabric store, bookstores, or could it be something more perverse? Or what about when you're sitting at home during this time scrolling through the internet or channel surfing? You see, whatever the heart loves, Solomon seems to want to say here, the ears will hear, the eyes will see. You'll look for it. Back in verse 5, Solomon says this: "Get wisdom, get understanding." The idea here is in the Hebrew is to make a decision. It's not just going to happen. You have to decide that you're going to guard your heart. You have to decide. You have to make plans to make your mama proud. You have to set your heart on this path, and the result will be that the righteousness in your life grows brighter as the darkness will begin to dim and fade away. The good news, according to this proverb today, is that when you're walking in the light, you're a whole lot less apt to stumble and fall. And I think that's good news for each and every one of us.